Who's your favorite class?
Right.
Whoa.
Hey guys, Charlie and Claude today. Claude's going to interview me. He's got some perplexing questions we're going to go over. But before we start, I just want to kind of talk a little bit, not really talk shop, but talk philosophy and methodology. And one of the methodologies I've always used, whether it be a DOA, a regional, or even at the position I have now as a vice president, is each person that's directly with me, I work with them to be me. And it sounds so narcissistic, and I don't mean it like that way, and maybe I should say it. I work with them to be the next position. So if you're a rep, as a DOA, I worked with you to become a DOA. If you're a DOA, I'm working with you to become a regional. If you're a regional, I'm working with you to become either a regional VP or something along those lines. If you're a regional VP, working with you to become an officer or vice president of company. And so the methodology that we use, the data that we use to create the narrative, that's some of the reasons why we do what we do. For instance, I think some people are not used to some of the conversations that we're having, and it's not meant to challenge. It's not meant to uncover things that, gotcha moments and things like that. What it's meant for is to train someone for the next step. Like when I'm working with Claude, and Claude was a DOA, we were together. And when I'm working with Claude, I don't care about Claude as a DOA because I know he's got that. That's why he got the job. But I feel like my job is to have him become a regional, to think like a regional, to look at the data a little bit differently, to understand a little bit differently. A lot of people will say, if they've been a DOA and they move up, they'll go, man, I wish I knew that then, what I know now, because I have a different perspective on what someone is telling me, be it lead flow, lead research, any sort of advertising capabilities and things like that. So a lot of the times when we're talking to you, we're not trying to talk at you as a DOA. I want to be very, very clear on this, and I don't necessarily think we do a good job on that. But what we're trying to do, and what the culture that we decided to do, when I got here, is to create an atmosphere where the DOA thinks like a regional. They're thinking in that capacity. You're looking at things different than someone else would look at it, just from a campus level. And then with your reps, we're trying to get the reps to think like a DOA, gross net pack, how you're going to approach your run rate. What do you have during your day to set your pipe calling or to fill the pipe kind of thing? What are the small wins you're looking for daily so that you get to the big nut, which is either your run rate or your gross plan or something like that. So when we go through these things and we have radar calls and we have DOA calls, or when you're meeting with your regional counterparts, please keep that in mind, that it's not meant to air things that we think you should know. It's things that we're trying to educate along the way so that you can become that next level position, or at least understand that next level position, so that your optics, your vantage point is a little more broader, and to understand things maybe a little bit differently. Now, this is different than any other school. We did this at another school group that I was at a long time ago where I was a DOA, and I loved it. One, because the reps started to do my job. That's how I got to we were at the conference. What conference was that? The DOA conference.
Yeah. Come together.
It come together, right?
Right.
And the whole thing was, I want to sit back and do nothing because my team is churning and burning. So now I don't have to worry about tactical. I can start working on strategic. I'm working 3 starts ahead because I know we're locked and loaded for at least the current start or the upcoming start. And when we did that, when we would have reps leave, they would go to be DOAs at another organization, or even reps would do a lateral and be a rep at another location. They knew the job better than the DOAs at that location if they did a lateral, and they were blowing away the DOAs based on the knowledge that they learned from a different and higher level of understanding things, if that kind of makes sense to you. I hope this doesn't come across bad.
No, we were talking earlier, different places where I've worked, I've been exposed to different people. And you pick up and learn things from different people. And there was at one point in time when I was a rep, I'm ready to be a DOA, and then my current DOA at the time started asking me some questions, and I realized I don't know this stuff. But it takes time to learn it. You got to find somebody who's willing to teach you and show you. And every time that I've moved into a different position or worked with different people, I found a different perspective. Like we talk about, there's different ways to skin a cat. There's different ways to do things, but there are some things that are universal. And when you can pick different people's brains, it just adds to your arsenal, and now you can look at data a lot differently.
Correct.
We were talking before about people who drive to the net, how that makes no sense to us, and how you got to drive to the gross. You know, driving activity as opposed to driving apps, keeping your side of the street clean, and these different words that we use in the industry, but it's a different way for you to approach it, and it makes sense. And when you can start thinking that way tactically, it makes you better as a DOA, and then eventually it makes your reps better, because if you can get them to think like you, but not every rep can embrace numbers.
No, you got to
and
choose it right.
Right.
And it's not. And I don't want to. God, it sounds so like think like me. I don't want to come across that. But there's industry standard knowledge, and then there's knowledge of historical with the outcomes. And by that, here's what I mean. So a lot of people come here and they're dumbfounded that we don't. At least I don't, and we don't concentrate on applications or starts. We concentrate on the activities that go into it, meaning those activities, a byproduct of that is apps and starts. So I choose, and the methodology that's always worked for me and the culture that we've brought here, and we're still trying to instill it to some extent, it's not about the apps. It's not about the starts. What it's about is the interviews and the interview culture of that customer service delivery, that commitment, and then you take that knowledge and then you can decide what section of the fence that you need to focus on. I was at a campus the other day and we were talking about reps that were challenged. And it wasn't like challenge like, okay, starve them on leads. Give them something to their strength right now so that they can maximize that and then start working on something else, like appointment sets. Maybe you have a rep that is struggling with the whole gambit from inquiry to start. Well, instead of just pounding them like we normally do, like I would do, and to do the whole thing, let's eat the elephant, so to speak, in bites, and let's focus on the appointment set. Hey, for the next month or next 2 weeks, and you got to have the staff to do this to some extent, I just want you working appointment sets. I'm gonna close them as a DOA or your top closer, however you want to do it, and you can watch this. But for right now, what I want you doing is concentrating on appointment sets. Here's some attempt to contacts, sprinkle in some new, maybe some other things from your database, and then as you watch them and train that purposeful skill set, then you can move on to maybe interviews, and then you move on from interviews to maybe start rate, or maybe you sprinkle in interviews with the appointment set. But the point of this whole thing is thinking as a career-minded general manager of the department and everything you've got at your disposal to make sure you're putting points on the board. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It makes perfect sense. It may be a perfect segue into the first question I'd love to ask you. As a DOA, some of the tools that you utilize to look at the data to make those types of decisions, one of the things that they use is a front desk report.
Yep.
So what exactly, in your opinion, is a front desk report, and how should it be used tactically by a DOA to manage their book of business?
So, good question, Claude.
Well, you're welcome.
So, the front desk for me is, I'm sorry about the sports analogies, but there's something called box scores. And after every game, no matter what the sports is, there's a box score. And like if you're in basketball, it would have assists, it would have blocks, it would have steals, it would have points on the board, it would have free throws. If you're in football, it could be yards by run, yards after catch. It could be different plays, like you have your first down plays, how they utilized, your second down plays, your third down plays. So it's a box score based on a player or based on a scheme or a playbook or something like that. So I use, and I always have used, and I hope we use it this way, the front desk report as your box score.
Okay.
You get it in the morning. So you come in the morning, you're at 8 o'clock or whatever it is, you do your highs, you walk around. I'm not a morning person, so I have to get my morning face on. And then I sit down and I go, okay, what's going on? I get my front desk report out. Usually I had it as a sheet of paper right on my desk. They would just put it right on my desk. So when I come in, it's the first thing I see. And okay, let me look at yesterday. Okay, here's lead flow. Dang it, I thought I took Rick out of lead flow yesterday because he had a lot of interviews. All right, let me get with the front desk on that. Okay, they had a lot of interviews yesterday, but not a lot of close. Okay, note to self, get with Claude on 4 interviews and what the next steps are. Okay. We took 2 apps yesterday. Let's see, my run rate is 10. It's Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to put that down for stand up to talk about run rates and how the week's progressing. Okay, perfect. And then what I would do is I'd fold the front desk report, I put it to the side, and I'd run my start day report. So I'd run my start day report, and I definitely am more tactical in this regard. So I pull up the Excel spreadsheet either from the week before, something like that. I look at the start date report. I would look at the start day report and look at the app receive dates. I'd see what's flowing in, what's in primary, what's in entire, what's not packaged, and I would make more notes bring the front desk report over. I'd make more notes on the front desk report. So I have my book of business that's been coming in for the week, what we need to do for the rest of the week. Then I would have the business that I already have that I want to maintain and keep trending for the week, and I have all that written down.
How long would it take you to do that? When you did that, like, what was the number of reps you were managing at that time?
Man, I mean, I've gone from, and I never had usually less than 10, but probably 10 to 30, 10 to 40.
So if you had 10 to 30 reps, going through that each morning, about how much of...
Half hour.
Half hour.
I'd always show up at 8 o'clock. My thing was 8 o'clock. That's just I always came at 8 o'clock. That was my schedule. I didn't have I work 8 to 5 today and I work 11 to 8 the next day. I just did 8 until I needed to go.
Okay.
And I also don't believe in hours, but we can get to that in a second. So it would take me a half hour, man. And then I have my stand-up done. It was done.
Your stand-up.
Because that front desk report remember, I wrote my notes. I had what we did, how we're trending.
You're anticipating my next question.
Well, hold on for a second. Let me get by. Let me hold your fingers. Let's do the wave. So I would have that stand-up report. So I used the front desk to make my job easier during stand-up.
For your stand-up.
And then what did I do at 8:30, 8:35? I'd walk in my campus president's office, say, yo, what's up? How's it going today? How you doing? I said, it's all right. Here's what I got planned today. Here's how we're trending for the week. Come on in to stand up if you want to. And usually they never did because I would give them an eye if they came in and be like, oh, what are you doing here?
Right.
But then I had my stand up. So the front desk report was vital to me. It was my coffee. Mm-hmm. That was my coffee. And real quick, and then the first person would come into the door. I didn't have to do anything because I was ready to go.
Okay. So your front desk report pretty much was giving you your game plan, utilizing the information that's been occurring throughout the week to give you your game plan as to what you're going to do.
Yep.
Okay. So that prepares you for your stand-up.
Yep.
Purpose of a stand-up? Did you have a stand-up every day? Why have a stand-up every single day if you could talk to your reps? Why are you going to get them all in the group every single morning to have a stand-up? What's the purpose of it?
So, and it's stand-up for a reason because they stood up.
Okay.
Didn't have them sit down. We'd get in my office and have a circle or a crescent moon, mm-hmm. and they would be in there. And the purpose of the stand-up is for me to look in their whites of their eyes. I would look how they're dressed. I would see if they're ready for the day. I would see if they were prepared with like a notepad, what kind of stuff they get. So a lot of it was visual. And in the stand-ups, I would usually go last. So let's say, you're in the stand-up, Mark, our cameraman's in the stand-up, and I've got a 2-person team. I would just go, yo, how's it going, guys? What's going on? I do some little loose stuff like, how was the game last night? Or, just a little small talk, about 5 minutes of small talk, a little chitter-chatter, basically to make them vulnerable so they're ready to talk from the heart. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to talk from a point of stress or a point of making yourself look good. You want to have real talk in that room because you can't really make a decision unless it's real. Okay. And you don't want fluff and stuff like that. So I said, yo, Mark, how's it going, man? What's going on today? And then I did the 3-2-1, and they all knew it.
I'm sorry, the 3-2-1?
3-2-1 is 3 appointment sets, 2 interviews, or 1 referral.
Okay.
So Mark would go, because Mark is a smart guy, he go right off the bat, he go, okay, yesterday I had 2 appointments. I did not have any interviews, and I didn't have any interviews. Okay, so good job. You're not quite there, but good job. So how you feeling today? What's going on? Well, because of those 2 appointments, I've got them coming in today, so I feel like I'm going to secure the 1 enrollment. I'm going to look for a referral, maybe from the appointments that I have or maybe something else. And then from 3 to 7 o'clock, I'm going to bang out phones because that's a really good time for me to connect. So I'm looking to book about 5 or 6 appointments to take me through the week. Boom, Mark's over, Claude. And go, perfect, man. Take a look. Anybody got any advice for Mark? Okay, no advice. I think that looks good, Mark. Hey, I'll catch up with you later. Claude, go ahead. And the catch up with you later, that's the time I roll back. What's going on? If they look like they're a little bit tired, I'd be like, hey, let's go get a pop, man. What's going on? I wouldn't say you look tired, but then you do your thing, right? It's all about your people. So that's how I use my stand-up. After they all go, then I would go at the end. And they saw me with my front desk report. right? I would go,
So there
okay.
are no surprises. They already
I
know.
was very transparent. I was not a DOA. Like I'd have presidents come to me and say, okay, our start budget's 50, tell everybody 70, or do that games and stuff. I was very transparent. I didn't pull punches or nothing like that. And slowly the reps understood that. Like they didn't pull punches. It was, I used to say, real with me, optimistic with everybody else. But you got to be real with me. So I'd go over my stand-up. My little stand-up notes. Okay, here's what I observed this morning. I would talk about lead flow. I talk about this. I talk about interviews. Then I'd go to the start date report and I'd say, okay, it looks like we got a couple of people coming in. Hey, Johnny, I know that he hasn't come in a while. Claude, talk to me about Johnny. Do we ever get a hold of him or something? So I wouldn't do an NSR, but I would just do spot check on stuff that I need to know. And it's interesting, man, when I started doing that, and I learned this from other people. This is nothing original for me. But when I started doing that, their expectation of themselves went up because they knew I knew. And once they know you knew, it's all over. So that's why, and can I segue for a second? That's why when I ask you guys like gross net pack and stuff like that, I'm not doing it for me. I can pull a campus report very easy and I can look it up real quick. I'm doing it because I want to know that you know. And when you don't know, the things that run through my mind are not about you, it's about your reps. Because if you don't know, then your reps know that you don't know. So the reps don't have any vision. So that's why I like us being very strong, very strong. I was notorious. Reps would like make fun of me all the time because I purposely asked questions 3 or 4 times. Not because I'm dumb. I'd act like I'm busy and stuff like that. And some people figure it out over the years. But I would ask them 4 times to see if I got the answer the same time. Hey, Claude, you talked to me this morning. Now, what was that about Johnny? And if you said something different, then I'd go, oh, wait a minute. I thought they were coming in at 1. Oh, well, that I was actually talking about another student. I got them confused or something. Oh, okay. But then they start to know, you know. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And you said you talked about the start. So you got your front desk report.
Yep.
Running your start date report, so you know what your GNP is. In there, you also know what the expectation is that day on FA appointments,
Correct.
who's coming in, what's going on. And this is stuff that you would gloss over during your stand-up to make sure that everybody knew that you knew what was going on, and then throughout the day, hold them accountable based off of what happened at that stand-up, whether it's 2 reps, 3 reps, or 15 reps.
Yep.
Stand up, the entire team every day, because it sets the tone for what you want
Yep.
for the day.
So we're going to cut this into actually 3 segments. And what I'm going to do is send you out all 3. But we should be about an hour and 20. Mark will cut out all the nonsense and get it to probably about 50 minutes or an hour. And so let's try to do 20-minute segments or something like that, Mark. But there'll be 3 sections of it. Listen to it as you will.